name is Miss Jessie. I am a librarian at the Clinton-Macomb Public Library, and today I am going to show you how to do some crayon crafting. Both of these activities that I'm going to show you, you could use some of those old crayons around your house that aren't being used anymore, especially the first one, which is suncatcher craft with crayons. We'll be actually using a pencil sharpener to get some of those pencil or the crayon shavings. So it could be those little crayons laying around your house that nobody uses anymore. So that's a great way to repurpose those crayons or give them another life. This is going to be ages, I would say probably 3 to 7. I really enjoyed making this craft, so it could be for older kids for sure also. And then the next one is going to be Scribble Art. This is for the younger children. Again, I enjoyed making this craft, but a child as young as 1 or able to hold a crayon can definitely enjoy making this craft with a grown-up. I will show you all the supplies you will need for both of these crafts, most of which you can find in your home, or if not all of them. And then the first one we'll be doing is the suncatcher, and I will show you which supplies you need, and then we'll go into how to create the suncatcher, and then the next one will be the Scribble Art. So next I will show you how to make the suncatcher. Here you can see the supplies that I have, most of which I think you'll find around your home. I have a single hole punch. You don't have to use this. This is just something I like to use because it's a little bit easier. If you don't have one, you can use a pair of scissors. It's just to cut the string on the top. And then I have just a multi-purpose string. You can use any kind of string you have in your home. Scissors. I have a pencil sharpener. This is what I'm going to use to grate down the crayons to create those shavings. And then a hair dryer. This is just a regular hair dryer. And wax paper, and then underneath here I have a piece of cardboard. This is what I'm using to protect the surface underneath because the wax paper can sometimes get onto the surface. So this is to protect underneath. Okay, the next step in creating our suncatchers is, as you can see, I've chosen, it's completely preference how many colors you want to incorporate. You could do 1, you could do 10. You do need to peel back about 1 inch of the crayon if there is paper on them. If you don't have paper on them, even better. One very simple trick in a quick way to peel back the paper is if you soak the crayons for a few minutes, the paper comes off very quickly. But like I said, you only need about 1 inch of the crayon to show before you start creating your shavings. So I just have a regular pencil sharpener, and you're gonna need probably about, I would say, a teaspoon, maybe a tablespoon of each color. A little bit kind of goes a long way. So I'm just gonna grind, and I've chosen, I guess, more fall colors for the season. You could pick anything. If it could be the child's favorite colors, it could be just something for a holiday or a season. And then once we kind of get our colors, and any kind of crayon will work. You can see that I'm using, I have some Crayola, I have some other brands in here. They all seem to work just fine in this craft. And then the last one, the yellow, you can tell that each one kind of sharpens a little differently. Okay, that should be enough to get us started. Put those aside. So as you can see, I have I don't know, I guess it's about a teaspoon of each color, which is plenty. And then next I'm going to take my surface that I'm going to be working on. Kind of put this to the side. So I have my cardboard underneath. I have 2 pieces of wax paper about the same size. And the reason I have the cardboard is, as you can see, I've already practiced on this one. You can see the wax goes through. So you don't want that on your surface. So, because we are going to be using kind of high heat. So this is the part with the pencil or the crayon pencil sharpener, if you have a child that's old enough, they could definitely do that themselves. Otherwise, it's probably something that you'll want to do for them or help them with. What I'm gonna do now is just kind of sprinkle the colors. There's no pattern or anything. I'm just kind of trying to cover a good portion of the surface. If you want to try and stay a little bit away from the edges, because it can spill out. If it goes on the cardboard, that's fine, but you just don't want it to go on your counter surface underneath. So I am going to use all of this, and once you get down to the bottom, you can just kind of sprinkle it on there. Okay, so with this project, you're going to want to use pretty high heat in order to melt the crayon and actually the wax on the wax paper. So I'm using a hair dryer. You could definitely use an iron, that's up to you. I just find that a hair dryer is a little safer with doing this with young children because you can kind of control the heat a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the highest heat on the hair dryer. If you have a child that's old enough to do this on their own, go for it. If not, you definitely want to help them with this part so we don't get any injuries. So we're just going to kind of start to melt this. And you're going to go as close as you can. Some of the splattering, that shows you that's how you want it melted. If it still looks like shavings, it's not melted enough. You will see a little bit of bubbling in here, and that's completely fine. Takes about a minute to get it completely melted. Now I want to probably take about a minute to let it dry as well, because we are going to cut this into a shape. If you notice there is some bubbling, I would just kind of take your plate and maybe push it on top so that you're not putting your hand on the heat at all. But you can see that it's definitely turned into some beautiful colors here. So once that's dry, mine's pretty dry. It doesn't take very long, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. You're going to want to cut out some kind of shape. This really could be anything. I'm gonna go for a diamond type shape because it's kind of easy to cut while you're, you can draw on here too with a pencil and maybe draw a heart or a circle, or you could even make this into the shape of a tree. You could take a leaf from your backyard and you could trace it. I guess mine kind of looks like a kite right now. Okay, so here's my shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Okay, so here's my shape. And what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna take my hole punch, and you're just gonna put a little circle on top. I have to pull that out. Oops. Okay, so there's a little circle on top. You could also create a frame for this. That looks really neat too, the solid frame out of construction paper when you hang it in the window. And this makes a wonderful gift, or just putting it in the window and enjoying the colors coming through, or the sun coming through the colors. I'm gonna put a string through here. Just tie it on the top, one knot. This is probably another part you might need a grown-up with, their help with. Okay, so there you have it. So here is my my sun catcher made with melted crayons. Like I said, it's a great way to use some of those old crayons that are just laying around the house, because you're gonna create shavings out of them anyway. It can make a great gift, or just something you can hang in the window and then the sun comes through. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day. The next craft I would like to demonstrate is called Scribble Art. How fun does that sound? What I have here are just some basic supplies that I'm sure most have at home. These are just crayons, same crayons I used for the previous craft. They don't have to be perfect, just anything you could find at home. I have masking tape. The masking tape is pretty important because masking tape can easily be removed from any surface. So any kind of tape that you can remove from a surface, but also paper, is what you're gonna need. Pencil, scissors, and just some white paper. This craft is great for ages. Any child that can pick up a crayon. It doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to hold it any certain way, but maybe ages 1 and above. And it will introduce those gross motor skills that are very important that they'll need later when they start school and are learning to hold a pencil. So let's get started. The first part of this is I'm going to just kind of move some of these supplies aside. Is you just want a piece of paper. Like I said, it doesn't have to be white. You could leave it just plain like this if they're just doing a picture, or I like it because I love handmade cards, especially from my own children. And when they're young, it becomes difficult. It's difficult for them to make them on their own. And this is something that they can kind of do on their own and give to a loved one or a friend. So I'm just gonna fold that in half because I am making a card, and I'm gonna put that aside. And the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take our masking tape. I actually already pre-cut some pieces of masking tape. Mine are about 4 inches long, but it really just depends on what you're going to be cutting out. So what we're going to be doing is cutting out some kind of shape, or you can actually write letters. For example, if you want to write "I love you," just make sure that the tape surface is big enough for you to write those bubble letters to cut out. You could also do it in a couple different sessions of tape. I'm just gonna be doing a heart here today. And so I'm just gonna, and you wanna make sure that the tape is kind of overlapping. So when you pull it off, it easily pulls off in one strip. You might have to help it a little bit, but I'm just gonna draw a heart here. You might not be able to see the heart, but I'll make sure to show you once I've cut it out. Draw a heart. Okay, so there's my heart, and now I'm gonna pull each piece off like that to kind of guide it as we pull the whole section off. It might need a little bit of reinforcement here as you're pulling, but as you can see, it pulls off pretty easily. Okay, so there is my heart before I cut it. And now I'm just gonna take my scissors and we're gonna cut this heart out. You might have to pull some of the tape off as you cut because it does get kind of sticky on the back. And again, if you have a child that's old enough to use scissors or starting to use scissors, this might be a great way to continue practicing those skills. Like I said, it does get a little sticky, so you might need to help the child with cutting, but this whole craft is great in practicing and introducing gross motor skills for young children. Okay, so here's my heart. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're gonna take this heart and you're gonna grab your piece of paper, and I'm gonna just do this sort of upside down so that you see the full effect. So you see that I'm gonna push that down pretty good, because you don't want, while the child is scribbling over this, you don't want any of the edges to kind of flip off. You wanna make sure that sticks pretty good. So I'm just gonna grab a couple different colors here. It doesn't matter. It can be, use some of the ones that I was using earlier with our other craft. And I'm going to just start scribbling. This is the best part. So children can completely do this on their own. Let them be free and artistic and express themselves. So, and there's no rules. That's the best part. So you just kind of start scribbling. You can go right over the tape just like that. Use any colors. If they have a favorite color, they can use that. And then you just keep scribbling. It's great. All right. Okay. You do want to make sure that they try and get as much around over the heart as possible, because that's going to give you that nice shape at the end. So a child might need a little bit of guidance, but most children just like to scribble. So it's going to be typically right over the area that you've covered. So next, you're just going to pull up your masking tape. It might come off in sections, and that's okay, but it does come up pretty easily. This one's coming up in a big section. Okay, so there you have it. That is our Scribble Art card. And you could even decorate the inside as well if you wanted to do some other shapes and have the child scribble on the inside. But like I said, this is just a wonderful way to have a child make a homemade gift or card for somebody, but also just a great craft at home to start introducing those gross motor skills that they definitely need. Okay, thank you.